If you've ever felt like you needed to show up differently than you actually are as a nonprofit leader, this episode is going to hit close to home. I'm Max Kringen, and this is Tellwell the podcast. My guest today is Ashley Ham. She's the executive director and co-founder of Dear NICU Mama, and they're a national nonprofit that reaches millions of NICU families every year through peer support, community, and story. Ashley is also a wedding photographer, a dinner party host, and a mom who delivered her son at 28 weeks and spent 87 days in the NICU. And somewhere in all of that, she figured out the one thing her organization does better than anyone else: story. In this conversation, Ashley talks about what it's like to stop trying to fit a mold, why she built a podcast as a primary tool for vulnerable families, and what happened the day that she almost gave up on the whole thing, but the universe had other plans. This one is worth your full attention. Let's get into it.
Over the rainbow.
Ashley Ham, welcome to Tell the podcast.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so dang excited that you're here. I've been following the Dear NICU Mama story for a little while now. And for those of you, those folks out in the audience who don't know you, who the heck is Ashley?
Who the heck is Ashley? I am Ashley. And
I am Ashley. I am all
her.
Ashley.
We
Okay,
are all,
sorry.
yes. I am from Fargo, so my husband and I have been married for 12 years now. So we're this is home. But outside of leading the organization, Dear NICU Mama, I've also been an entrepreneur, designer, and wedding photographer for 12 years as well.
I don't know that we've really talked about both being recovering. Just wait, are you an active wedding photographer? Oh, wow.
Are you a recovering
I'm
one?
a recovering wedding photographer.
We could have a whole podcast about that.
We sure can, because I'd
Become
be
a
curious.
therapy session.
What, if you have one, what is worse than a bridezilla?
Oh, I don't know if I should say
Say it.
a mother-in-law's.
Oh,
Zilla. Zilla.
Mother-in-law Zilla.
Cute.
Yes,
We got to
yes.
add the Zilla because there's 9 times out of 10, I
They're
love the
great.
mother-in-laws.
Right.
But
They're-
you just always have that one
Yes.
that happens every so often and you're like, oh, okay.
Okay, sorry. Wedding photographer. So you're a wedding photographer, you're an executive director, you're a mom,
Yes.
you're a wife.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What other hats do you wear?
I love hosting dinner parties. Those are like my love language. So I love it. Those are like something that I do that brings me a lot of joy that involves not making any money from it. Because I don't know about you, Max, but it's really easy as a creative to get a hobby and then be like, I wonder if I could monetize this.
Yes.
And put it on Etsy or do something. So dinner parties for me are literally just to make my, have a fun night with my friends and make
Yeah.
it pretty and have it be fun. So yeah.
So there's a funny through line through all of those things, though, and there seems to be a thread that connects them, which is like creating community, creating connection.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, my love language is like quality time through. And there have been many times in my life that I look back on and what carried me through was the community, whether that was something that came unexpectedly or something that we knew we were going to walk through. Like community and my friendships are everything to me. And so I'm just a really big people person. I'm always like all about how can we bring people together and make it special and meaningful. So yeah.
I love that. So what you're doing here today, and maybe a note, like you were one of the first folks to say heck yes to the Commons, which is our co-working space next door to the new Tellwell. But that's Dear NICU Mama that you're the executive director for. So tell us about Dear NICU Mama.
Yeah. Do you want the long version or the short version or the middle version or?
Long. We're a storytelling podcast. We're ready for it.
Sweet. Okay, so Dear NICU Mama is an organization that was founded out of my own motherhood journey. So my husband and I, after 5 years of marriage, we were ready to start building our family. So we got pregnant right away, and I just thought, I'm made for this. I'm made to have babies. Look how easy, I just was like, first time pregnancy, had no idea. And then my pregnancy became high risk. So I was seen pretty frequently. And at 28 weeks, I developed severe preeclampsia and HELLP syndrome and delivered my son very urgently at 28 weeks on the dot. So that launched us into one of the most refining experiences of both of our lives. But I think for me, I was pregnant at the same time as a lot of my close friends, and it was just very isolating. The first NICU that we were born, or that my son was, we were flown to the city. So we were in Minneapolis. And that first NICU was like an open bay setting. So you had multiple families in one area. And while that definitely presented its challenges, it was also really comforting to know that like there were other families around and I wasn't like in my own insular world. And then when he was stable and could be transported back to Fargo, we were in our own private room. And over time, I really grew to appreciate that just for privacy reasons and just being able to bond a little bit better with Silas. But what you made up for in privacy, you kind of lost the solidarity of seeing other families pretty frequently. And so again, being a very community-driven person, I was that person that would connect with moms in the elevator. So if I saw a NICU badge, I'd be like, oh, are you in the NICU? And I'd connect and we'd grab lunch the next day. Like I was just desperate for community. And so one day I got a message from a mom in our community that I didn't know. And she just said, hey, I saw you had a NICU baby. Would you ever want to get coffee? And I was like, 2 seconds later, yep, when and where. So we got coffee, and I don't say it lightly, but that coffee date changed my life. And it was the first time that I was able to use terminology that I didn't have to explain. She just completely understood my heart. We say it often, but in the community, you kind of skip the small talk and you go straight to the heart. So we really did do that. So we stayed in touch. And again, being an entrepreneur myself, I remember coming home from the NICU and I just was desperate for hope and desperate for community, and I just could not find it. Everything I found online was terrifying. It was, you will have PTSD for the rest of your life and your baby will struggle and you will struggle. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I wanted to be a part of really changing the narrative of how NICU parenthood is presented to specifically NICU families. I think a lot of what I found was really helpful info for like somebody who's in med school or a maternal mental health specialist. But as a mom in the midst of her journey, I was just like, this is the last thing I need to see at the moment. And so coming home from the NICU, I looked at my husband and I was like, what if I started a nonprofit called Dear NICU blah, 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 and it was founded on a blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I love that, but can we wait till we get home? So Silas got discharged, and a week later, I reached out to that mom I met and I said, do you want to start a nonprofit? And she's like, let's go. So we just happened to have like the complete opposite skill sets, and it was just a dream team. So I was more of the creative visionary and she loved spreadsheets and paperwork. And it was just great. So we both just wanted to really build community for NICU moms and families. And we were founded in 2019 on Mother's Day. And we definitely went into it with a traditional mindset of let's do support groups in hospitals and kind of what you would maybe had typically seen. And then COVID happened. And all of a sudden the world shut down, but especially for moms who've had babies in the NICU, those were some of the most immunocompromised families. And so we had to get creative and we had to pivot. And I think that was honestly the best pivot that Dear NICU Mama made, because our services became virtual, which then allowed us to connect with moms around the US and the world. So overnight, Dear NICU Mama kind of became a national organization, and we've been we'll be 7 years old, next Mother's Day. Yeah. And it's just been a ride. We kind of joke that Dear NICU Mama tells us where it wants to go. And,
Yeah.
and I feel like it really has. And it's just been such a gift. Yeah.
So you mentioned that it became a national organization a little bit overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, what does that scope look like? Because you have the number one NICU mom podcast or number one NICU podcast in the world, right?
Yeah.
What else? How big is this? How big is the reach?
Yeah. So actually just recently, I should have brought them with me, but for a sponsorship guide, I pulled some numbers, but our reach on social media is like 8 million annually on like our Instagram. Our Facebook is about 11 million annually. So it's like we just have, with our virtual presence, we just have the opportunity and ability to connect with moms anywhere. And I think the gift of that is that when you are in the NICU, it feels impossible to leave baby's bedside, and you already feel like you're kind of out of control. And so what these virtual offerings provide is a sense of control of you get to choose how and when and if you engage, and there's no strings attached. So it's truly in the middle of the night when you're pumping away from your baby and you just need to know that you're not alone, you can hop on Instagram and find hope there. Or if you are desperate for community, but you aren't ready to go to a coffee date like I was or attend a group, you can listen to a podcast and feel that sense of solidarity. Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
So you've lived a lot of life since those 87 days in the NICU, which that's a long time.
Yeah.
And now the organization has been around for, did you say almost 7 years?
Yeah.
Almost 7 years. That's incredible. When you look back, what do you think that experience in the NICU, those feelings that you went through, what did they teach you about yourself?
Oh, again, that could be its own podcast episode. What it taught me about myself was, and we have it on a shirt subsequently, but it's that you really are braver than you feel. I think the NICU parenthood and being a NICU parent, there are many days that you will feel completely paralyzed with fear because this little person that you have brought into the world, the thing that you care most about, you have no control over. And it's a very like crash course in parenting, right? But there were many days that I felt anything but brave. But that reminder that I look back on things that I was able to do, or even just the act of holding your baby connected to a million wires. I mean, that alone was oftentimes very scary, but looking back, like, you really are braver than you feel. Like, being brave and being courageous is so much more than what we feel in that moment. It's how we continue to show up even in the midst of that fear. And so looking back, I think I'm really proud, and I see it every day with the families that we serve, just how being brave is so much more than how we feel, and we truly are braver.
Retweet or double click. I don't know what the kids say these days, but like, I was tracking, I don't know, 6, 7.
Oh, my son they love saying that.
So one of the things that I'm finding so fascinating about you is the clarity at which you're coming to the challenges that you're solving and how quickly you're getting to that clarity. And it probably doesn't feel quick to you, but like just in the short time that we've like known each other and interacted with each other, it was just probably a few weeks ago that you're like, so I have this thing. I think story is our thing. Is it? And I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And as you talk about, what connects Ashley, and not just what connects Ashley, but what connects this entire network, this really shitty club that nobody wants to be a part of, but what connects you all are those shared stories. And so I'm curious, what did it take for you to get that clarity that said, hey, we're going to double down on story. We're going to double down on this thing that we know we're uniquely equipped to support parents with, because there are so many organizations that want to do everything for everybody.
Yeah. I think if I'm being honest, it came from a place of like imposter syndrome of stepping into an executive director role without that background, if that makes sense. So I struggle to find other executive directors that I feel like I have similar skills to. Like, I did not fall into the nonprofit work because I had a passion for operations or bylaws or fundraising, and maybe a lot of us don't, but I just I came into this organization with the passion to rewrite the narrative of how NICU parenthood is portrayed first. And when I continue, I think it's really tempting because I'm also young. I'm only 32. So I am leading an organization very young. And I think there's this temptation to look at my roles and say, like, I need to look like this because that's what executive directors do. and I need to present myself like this. And thankfully, my board is very much like, nope, Ashley shows up like Ashley. We want you to be Ashley. We don't want you to try to fit yourself into a mold. But I am a storyteller first. That is what I'm good at. That is what I'm passionate about. Getting to connect with moms in that way is what makes my heart come alive, and it's what has fueled the work that I've done and continue to do. And so I think part of that clarity was when I tried to force myself into maybe executive director type roles that other organizations were doing fantastic at. Like, I will say I have so much admiration for the other executive directors I've had the opportunity to connect with, but I just wasn't like that. I just was a little bit like more out of the box, more creative, if you will. And so I think it kind of came from a place of like, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to change who I am or what I bring to the table, but maybe that's what makes Dear NICU Mama special. And I kind of had that light bulb moment. It kind of has blinked on and off, if you will. But after a recent kind of meeting, that's when I was like, Max, I have to tell you something. Like, what do you think about this? And it was just kind of like maybe I don't have to completely change who I am, but that's what makes Dear NICU Mama special. And so, yeah.
I think for me, the just putting on the consulting hat is like, do one thing and do it really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can stem out from that versus trying to take all these disparate things and try to make them work together for one thing, it's so much more powerful and it's so much more authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes the story easier, and it makes it easier for people to buy in. Mm-hmm. And it makes it so much easier to partner.
Yes.
Because now you're not competing against anybody,
Literally,
right? It's like, hey, you are really good at focus groups, or you're really good at like this very specific piece of the NICU story. Great. You do that.
Yep.
You do that. You do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on the stories because I believe story is what connects us.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think that creating that as a platform is so powerful. One of the ways that you've done that is through a podcast. We're chatting on a podcast now. It feels a little meta, but I'm curious, why did you choose the medium of audio?
Ooh, honestly, because again, I kind of mentioned it right away, but when you're in the NICU, the last thing that you feel like you have capacity for is to leave baby's bedside. And when you do leave baby's bedside, it rips your heart out, right? Because you're already having to leave them at night if you aren't able to stay there or just need some better sleep. And so to go to like a traditional sense of a support group can be really intimidating and also the last thing on your priority list. So the podcast was designed to be a way to create that sense of community, to hear stories of hope without having to leave baby's bedside. And it was really about, again, giving moms a sense of control. So when you're sitting in a traditional support group, which there is a time and place for this, we do offer, very minimal of this offering, but you're kind of at the mercy of what someone else shares. And there's not the ability to be like, hey, pause. I can't hear that right now. That's triggering for me, or that's overwhelming for me. But on a podcast, let's say that a mom might be starting to feel overwhelmed, or she's not ready to digest that part of a story. She can press pause. She can press fast forward. She can rewind if she wants to. So she has a sense of control in that sense.
That's brilliant. I didn't even think about that part of it is in those moments of not feeling in control, you are like empowering them with a sense of agency that they can say, yes, I'm opting into this or opting out, like goosebumps, like full arm goosebumps. Yeah. That's brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And thankfully, the vision that we initially had, we've seen fulfilled in that moms will listen to the podcast doing kangaroo care, or moms to and from the NICU on their hour-long commute can listen to the podcast and have that sense of sitting across the table from someone, but not having to actually do that yet. And what our hope with that is too, is it's a bridge to a mom having the courage to maybe consider seeking out additional resources for mental health support. So we're very clear of the fact that we are not mental health support, we are peer support. But part of our, I think, responsibility as an organization is to really highlight the different ways that a mom may need support. And so the podcast is a very gentle way for a mom to share I was struggling with this, and then I was able to find some hope and support in this avenue. And it's a lot less intimidating than getting a pamphlet and being
Yeah.
like, here are all the ways that you will struggle, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a very gentle way to ease yourself into like, what might healing look like after NICU? And it was a really full circle moment for me recently because we connected with a mom who had an over a year-long NICU stay. And she said that she would walk the halls of the NICU just listening to the podcast. Like she'd have it in her ears and she'd listen to it every time there was a new episode. And then she recently got to be on the podcast. And I just was like full, again, goosebumps for myself, very emotional because I was like, wow, what a full circle moment for you to have heard and digested these stories and now had the opportunity to share your own. And so it's continued to be one of my favorite ways that we are able to connect with moms and just share hope. And yeah.
So to other nonprofit leaders who might be listening to this, and they might say like, okay, well, that's easy because it's NICU moms, and so they all have stories. I would say hold that assumption because like there are stories everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you think about nonprofit leaders using podcast as a medium? Like, how would you suggest, one, would you suggest that they do that? And two, how do they get started?
Yeah. I think it's a powerful tool. I think we live in like the day and age where it's never been easier to start a podcast. So the hoops that you would have to jump through are very minimal. Of course, it's work, right? But it's nothing like you think about podcasting even 10 years ago. I mean, it's just so different. I think it's a powerful tool. I think one of the things that it has given me is it makes me as an executive director a little bit less intimidating of a person. I think anytime that you get to connect in a way with your executive director that isn't just like standing at the gala giving a presentation, it makes me more human. And I love that. And I love also continuing to have more of a heartbeat of our organization. I'm connecting with the moms. I'm doing that. And so I just find it to be such a powerful tool of really allowing those in your organization to get to know you in a different format that isn't so like professional, right? And so that continues to be just a really powerful way for me to stay connected, but also just remind people like I'm human. I'm like, yes, I wear the executive director hat, but like I'm human. I'm a NICU mom myself. I want to tell your story. I want to sit with you. Like, so I find it to be a super powerful tool.
Love that. You talk a lot about helping people and NICU moms feel seen. What does that actually look like to you, whether behind the camera or in person with a NICU mom?
Like practically or like what I hope for?
Both.
Okay. I think what I hope for is coming back to the element of story, if you will. Like our stories hold significance and power and impact. And when we share our stories and we give others the opportunity to see themselves reflected in our stories or vice versa, like that's where healing begins. That's where healing happens, in my opinion. I think the first time that I knew I wasn't alone was when I could relate to another mom's story, right?
So just wait, can you pause and say that again? When healing begins.
Yeah. When you can see yourself reflected in someone else's story or vice versa. When you can look at or hear an element of someone's story and be like, oh, I went through that, or I wasn't crazy because I felt that way too. I always say it like eradicate shame. Shame has no place. Like when we have the safety to share our stories, that's when shame just really can't be in the room anymore, right? Because now connection takes that place. And so I find that telling stories, sharing stories, hearing your own story, hearing another person's story that connects with you, there's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. Yeah.
There's a reason why it's, I think, the most powerful tool in marketing and leadership. And insert anything here. Story is the way to do it. And I'm biased in that, right? I recognize that. But I've also seen the power. You've seen the power. You understand it.
Yeah. One of our programs is our letter writing program, and we were founded on a letter. So again, when I was struggling to find hope, I found a lot of like statistics. I found a lot of research articles. Again, there's a place for that. But as a NICU mom myself, I needed to hear from another mom that I could do this, that I wasn't alone. And so with our letter writing program, you are writing a letter to another NICU mom, but you're really writing it to yourself, right? Like it's a very healing practice, and a lot of it involves story. It involves you looking back on your own journey and thinking back to like, what did I need to hear in that moment? And so many of our letter submissions include a statement at the end, like, even if you don't select my letter, this was an incredibly healing and cathartic experience for me. And I just want to thank you for letting me share. So again, like when we have the chance to kind of like reflect on our own stories and then write that from a place of healing and be like, what did I need to hear? It's so transformative.
You know that this is a storytelling podcast, right? And we believe that stories shape who we are and how we show up. So I'm curious, what's one story from your life or your work that still guides how you show up today?
Oh, I will never. This one is forever one of my favorites ever. So, I founded the organization, or co-founded the organization alongside the mom that had reached out to me, and we were a duo forever. And then she ended up moving to the cities and was just a complete lady boss at her job, and ultimately had to make the hard decision to step back from the organization. And I went through a little bit of an identity crisis of like, how do I do this now? Because we were just like we were the duo. We just like, you were really like, it felt like a dream to get to do the organization together. And we were dear friends. And so I was also wrestling with like, do I want to do this without her? Like, this was so hard. And so I went through a little period of just like, what is the future of Dear NICU Mama? Are we still working? Is this still working? Is this still helping people? Like, I just kind of went through a little bit of a moment. And I was at a coffee shop that I used to frequent and work before I had a Commons office space. And I'm sitting there working, and I literally remember on my way into the coffee shop, I told my mom on the phone, Mom, I don't know, maybe Dear NICU Mama isn't helping people anymore. Like, maybe I just need to throw in the towel, and maybe it had a good run. Like, I was like, I don't know. I said that to her. And then I get to the table and I'm just typing, and all of a sudden I hear beep boop. And I'm like, there's an incubator in here. Like, I'm in the NICU. And I'm like, this is wild. So I like kind of joked, and I sent my team a text. I'm like, I heard an incubator in the coffee shop. And they were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can't explain it, but there's an incubator in here. And so I stood up and I looked around, didn't see anything, sat back down. And then I hear it again. And I'm like, I am going crazy. And so I stand up, I look across the pillar, and I see a stroller with a tube coming out. And I'm like, oh, that's a medical mom. So I go over there, and again, being passionate about community, I'm like, hi, my name's Ashley. Like, are you a medical mom by chance? And she's like, yeah, we just came home from a 225-day NICU stay. I had twins at 25 weeks, and my son has a trach. And I was like, oh my goodness, one of my best friend's son had a trach and is doing really well. We were talking, and she goes, wait, are you Ashley with Dear NICU Mama? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, Dear NICU Mama literally like saved my life. And she's like, I could not have gotten through my story without you guys. And one of our really big pillars of our organization is our merchandise, and it's a wearable letter of hope. So when you wear it, you become a letter of hope. And so she said, I wore my You Are Braver Than You Feel sweatshirt any day that I just could not get through, any day that I felt like I couldn't put one more foot through the door, I put on my sweatshirt. When my son had his heart surgery, I had my sweatshirt on. So then I'm crying, she's crying, we're all crying, her home health nurse is crying, we're all just a mess in the club.
I was like, I'm over here, my eyeballs are sweating. Okay.
But I just look back, and that was like pivotal for me, because I literally at that moment walking into the coffee shop was like, I don't know if this is helping people. I don't know if I can do this. And that gave me the boost to be like, no, this is important work. I want to do this. I'm passionate about this. This is just like a hiccup in the road that we're going to navigate and figure out. And to this day, like, her story continues to fuel me when I feel like the nonprofit grind gets hard sometimes. Yeah. And I'm like, but it's the people and the families that we serve. And so that continues to be just like my boost of energy that I need on days when I'm just like, huh.
Yeah. What an incredible, I don't know if you're religious. I don't know if I'm religious. I'm like spiritual sometimes. I'm like I'm a bunch of different things. But I am a big believer that like the universe can place people in situations in our lives, and it's not like the bullshit where like everything happens for a reason.
No.
Because I hate that stuff. I hate it. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, God closes a door and he opens it. Like, it's not that. But I am a believer that like the universe can put people in places when we need it. And I think one of the things that I think you have to hold up a mirror and give yourself a lot of credit for is recognizing when those things are in front of you and being like, am I crazy? I might be crazy, but what if I just look around this little pillar right here? Oh my gosh, then what a gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
No, it definitely, I felt like was just a kind of like a God wink or a divine like appointment. I just was like, this is exactly what I needed today. And I was actually supposed to have like a meeting with someone, and then this happened and she ended up having to cancel anyways. And it just was like all of the things kind of aligned for us to be able to connect. And to this day, she's just been just a dear friend in my life, but just a resource for moms who are in the thick of it. And it's just been so beautiful to see how her story continues to give back to other moms now. And she's just is a remarkable human. So I love her dearly.
What's the future of Dear NICU Mama look like?
Great question. I have no idea. I think right now we have a children's book being published. It's like in print right now. So I am very excited to continue to see how this tool, it just will encourage and provide a bonding tool and experience for moms and their babies and families and their babies. And so I'm really excited about that. But I'm excited to continue to scale sustainably. I am a dreamer, as I know you are, and I have a lot of ideas and a lot of vision. But I keep coming back to this word of sustainability. And someone recently asked me, because Dear NICU Mama could be as big as we wanted it to be, like as many of our businesses or organizations. And someone asked me, what do you think is like preventing you from really scaling Dear NICU Mama? And I was like, it's for sure myself. But the reason is that I don't want to commit and then overcommit and not be able to fulfill what we're good at and what we're about, like what we bring to the table. And so I'm really excited to hopefully onboard some staff and to really, really build some strong relationships with hospitals with really clear programming. I think one thing that our board is excited to do this year is some strategic planning of what is Dear NICU Mama? What are we known for? What are we good at? And it comes back to that of like really being honest with ourselves and really getting to it. What it allows us to do is it not only refines our mission, but like you said, it allows us to celebrate the mission of other people. I'm so jazzed about that. Like, I love being able to be like, this is what we do well. And oh my gosh, thank God that you do this well and that we can point families to you. And so I'm just excited to see Dear NICU Mama continue to grow and bloom. And I'm really looking forward to where we go next.
Oh, I'm so excited to be a super fan on that journey. It has been so fun to watch those ideas and for like the trust that you put into me just since like being here in the space with us has been so fun to be like, I have an idea. Is this crazy? And like, that is one of my most favorite things because like I too am full of crazy or brilliant ideas. It depends on the day.
Yeah.
But our last question is very simple, but what's one good thing that you would leave people with? This could be a piece of wisdom or a reminder that helps them lead with purpose.
Ooh. One good thing. I think this is something that I have stepped into more recently. One thing, and I am not recreating the wheel here by any means. In fact, this has been told by many. I just, for the first time, have tried to implement it myself. But this year, I have really prioritized my health in a new way. And that has been pretty revolutionary for me. I think it's really easy as nonprofit leaders to, again, because our hearts are so big, we give a lot of ourselves. And I, for the first time this year, really prioritized what it looks like to work out and pour a little bit of that into myself. And it's been just a game changer. And so I think my encouragement is really to prioritize that part of yourself. It does not, like I do 45-minute workouts, guys. I am not doing an hour and a half in the gym, but it has been just really impactful for how I show up in the organization and how I show up for myself and how I then show up for my family and my friends outside of the work that I do. And it's just made my life a little bit more than just work. It also pours back into myself. So it's been really good.
Excellent advice. Ashley, if people want to connect with you, where do they do that?
Yeah, so you can find us on social at Dear NICU Mama. Our website is dearnicumama.com. Our podcast is just Dear NICU Mama Podcast. But we'd love to continue to connect with us. Our book is available for pre-order now, so definitely check that out. But yeah, we'd love to connect with you.
Awesome. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us on Tellwell the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for all of the work that you're doing to connect moms and families to the support systems that they need, because we share the same belief that like one good story can truly change a person's life, but it can also change the world. So thanks for carrying that torch for us into the world.
Thanks for letting me be here, and thanks for the comments. I love it here. Anybody local, come join. He did not have me say that, but I will say, like, it's a really great co-working space, and it has provided a lot of community for me, and I just come join us.
And you get access to both of us, right? We love neighbors, we love happy hour, and we love coffee time. Ashley, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Over the rainbow.
Thanks for spending some time with us today. I hope this conversation gave you something useful to take back to your work. If you're looking for more resources on storytelling, strategy, and building communications that actually move people to action, head on over to WeTellWell.com. We've got guides, case stories, and plenty of ways to dig deeper. And if you're at a point where you're ready to get serious about clarifying your message or telling your story in a bigger way, let's talk. You can book a planning call with our team right on the website. We'd love to hear what you're working on. One last thing. If this episode was helpful, share it with someone on your team or leave us a review. It really does help other mission-driven folks find the show. I'm Max Kringen. Thanks for listening to Tellwell the podcast. Now go tell your story well, because a well-told story can move your mission forward and change the world.